Hello and welcome into the SorareData Show. I am Andrew Laird. You can find me as Lairdino on Sorare. Happy Friday to everyone. We're back to normal game weeks after chaos this week. That's all it was. It was just straight chaos. Having to do lineups for me, well, I did them at night, but like, who cares if you did them? Because we had like the late deadline. We had all the lineups for Wednesday and Thursday. And then all of a sudden you're making lineups on Friday and you're like, wait, I don't know who's going to play. And I don't have the crutch of waiting for deadlines. And it was just a very different experience this week, excuse me. And it feels like it was mostly positive for the midweek, but there were also some people who were like, man, that was really great, but please don't let me do that on a weekend. And I don't know. Maybe what we're getting is kind of new midweek stuff. I don't know. We'll see. Thank you to everybody for coming in. Anyon, Ace Pair, and Bob Franklin on the podium. Congratulations, you three. Title of the show, What Should Sorare Give Us? Ace Pair said, should is such an interesting word, which it is. Halligan, good luck on your drive back from Lillehammer. Boulder, Crypto, Sissy Dragon. How about timely team lineups? That would be great. I mean, that's out of our control. So, Stefan, what's up? Mikey Baston, right? I'm going to watch this outside. Ooh, is it that warm? Wow. Tommy 2K, what's up? Sorare should give us more league-specific specials in a weekend, like Eredivisie special or a Pro League special. I mean, that's basically Challenger at this point. Glenn, Sorare should give us a huge Sorare Sevens type tournament in the U.S. for the World Cup. Would be scenes. So, Glenn, actually, there is going to be a Sorare 7. Well, I believe there is going to be a Sorare Sevens, like an official one, in July. But there is also going to be like another Sorare like Manager World Cup. I can't remember if that's what they called it. I think it is. But Nacho reached out to me, Nacho Eras, who I think organized the first one, and said that there's going to be one in Paris on August 2nd, and they're looking for Americans to enter a team. And Glenn, just saying. Oh, Mike said it's too cold. Okay, so we're back inside. All right, pants back on. John Andrews, or maybe the opposite because we're inside now. Anyway, John Andrews, what's up? Toby, hello. Ryan, Redder Dead 69, Alex on Sorare. Alex, I'm still like halfway through your, I was going to say your third video. I don't know if that's your most recent one. Let me look. But anyway, for those of you who don't watch or who haven't watched Alex's stuff, it's Alex on Sorare right there on the screen on YouTube. And it's kind of funny because it's kind of like the content that I never really watch because I'm just like, but Alex, there's something about Alex. I don't know what it is. Keeps me intrigued. And he's just really good on camera, so that helps. But so yeah, go check that out. Definitely a good watch. Soraburo, what's up? Toby said, I think it made sense to have the late deadline for Champions League in Europa, but I never really want it again. We'll see. I mean, maybe we want it the next time we have these types of situations. Anion said, after struggling with my keeper choices today, I just think rolling locks for the keeper spot should be good enough. You can't really replace it with someone else that at least gets minutes. Oh, I don't know. Greg from X said, thank you for the bug the last hour to make our lineups. I mean, we planned it. We specifically did that. So one of the things that we do at SorareData to make our own lineups more competitive is that we make sure our lineups are submitted and then we slow everything down so other people can't get their lineups in. We do that on purpose. And for anybody who is curious, I'm being completely facetious here. Obviously, we use the lineup builder too. We know that it was a little slow today. I didn't think it ever stopped working. Like mine worked. It was just, instead of taking 1 second, it took like 10, which feels like an eternity sometimes when you're up against a deadline. But yeah, I apologize that it took so long. But again, like it's not something that we want to do. Again, we're players too. Agent Cooper said, Sorare should give us the cards we want. I craft a tier 3+ card this week with my 100 limited essence that I saved up, and I got the third choice Zagreb goalkeeper worth 0.0002 ETH. Ivan Filipovic is his name. Feels bad. ZM Star said, Common Essence coming to football is what they are giving us. It does seem like, well, Common Essence, for those of you who don't know, There's going to be Common Essence in NBA, and they're doing a lot for the NBA Common game to kind of mimic the pro game, which I think is a great idea. I don't know how successful it's going to be. I don't really play the Common game on NBA, but I do know a number of people who have a very good time with it. So hopefully that's a successful endeavor. Ian Sorare, what's up? Major NFT, Sorare Soul, Damien. Hi, Laird. What do you think about a big content creator such as Valouz in France if they would start to make content about the game again? About the game, good or bad? What do you think about big content creators such as Valouz if they would start to make content about the game? Didn't Valouz used to make content about the game? I was sure they used to. I don't know. Like, I don't think they do anymore. I think there are a lot of people who used to make content pretty regularly, and then things changed either with them or the changes with Sorare were not what they really wanted. And so they stopped. But that doesn't mean that people aren't interested in seeing content. And there are people who are starting to make more content. I think I mentioned that during a stream recently, that it feels like we're kind of experiencing a bit of a content turnover when it comes to Sorare. That, we got our plenty of mainstays, Quinny, Harry, me, but there were some people who kind of did it regularly and have stopped, again, for a variety of reasons. But there are new ones coming on, Alex on Sorare being one of them. And I think it's something that I guess should have been expected with all of the changes to the game, that there are going to be people that didn't like it. And if they were kind of regular content creators, like, you have to love Sorare to make content about it. Like, you really do. And that doesn't mean that like everybody who loves it should make content, but like there are very few people who like go out of their way to talk about things that they don't like, at least like on a video. On Twitter, they're everywhere. But there is a kind of like a different user base kind of forming ever since the game changed to this in-season and classic mode. And it just takes a little time for people to kind of accept that, or if they're new users, to like have enough success on the platform to want to talk about it openly. And, sometimes you just need a camera and a mic, but but we're starting to see that now, like some new creators come about, and it's really interesting to see people who like didn't go through like the extreme highs and then the kind of prolonged lows of Sorare, because they're playing the game that exists today. And it feels like a lot of people who used to make content, at least, are still trying to play the game that used to exist. And it's probably why their content either doesn't exist or just isn't as good anymore. Red Panda said, I thought it was just my terrible internet connection. It was not. It was not. Germ said, time to plug the Premium Plus feature where you pay extra for no bugs. Yeah. That's the legend tier. No bugs ever. Zibisk, what's up? Although I can't remember if it was Zybisk or if you never even told me. I don't know. Alex Wilson said, Sorare should give us less jersey stuff and more money or something. Really? Like fewer jerseys? I mean, obviously everybody's going to want more money. But Alex said, I wonder how many Zidane competitions we'll get this year. Mike said, which Muppet asked for Common Essence in NBA, but it actually said which mullet, which was kind of funny. Damien said, at that time they were doing content, prices were quite high, and so the game was not accessible to everyone. Now with limited, it would impact a lot the market, in my opinion. I think more people talking about Sorare is just a plus. And obviously, you hope that more people are positive than negative on it, just for our own sanity and card prices. But I think there are also people, Damien, who may have done content previously when prices were high because it's just more exciting. And when prices are low, they just don't feel like it's worth talking about anymore. And that's not I don't know if I don't talk to Valouz. I don't know. I've never seen their stream because I don't speak French. But I think that there is like I said, there's just going to be kind of like a change now of who's talking about Sorare and how they talk about it. And I think that's a big positive, because how you play Sorare today is very different than how you would have played last year. I mean, it's around this time last year that they kind of changed everything. Like this time last year, we're all playing our super rare Cap 240 teams to win $300 a game week, and we were all just loving life. And not trying to get the best players that we can because we didn't need to win. We didn't have to finish high in the leaderboard to get money, and it was just a different time, and one that couldn't continue for a variety of reasons. One of which was just that Sorare wasn't going to continue anyway in that mode. Crypty said, "Can I maybe ask you to implement a Colombian League search on SorareData? You said SRD, but we call it SD. Primera. It's the only league that doesn't have a search filter. I didn't even know that we didn't have that. Let's see. Whoops. I mean, I believe you, but I also kind of want to check. We have Primera Division in Chile, Argentina, Austria. Yeah, maybe we don't. Is it possible that we don't have any cards from the Colombian League, and that's why? Did we ever have a Colombian licensed team? Mike Basson said, "I miss Parapress." I do too. Surfula, what's up? Give us more Argentina super auctions. Surf, they don't have any super rare, any Argentina rare auctions right now. Agent Cooper said, "Even though there are fewer well-known content creators, I love the SD ones the best because of how much Laird involves the chat." It's funny. I read this as I'm involving the chat. You think I paid Cooper to do this. Gives you a real sense of sentiment and differing opinions. Keep it up. This channel doesn't exist without the live chat. And I've said this before, and it was actually Mike Baston who brought that up to me a while ago. And I talk to Mike fairly regularly. And one of the reasons that I love talking to Mike is because he kind of has his finger on the pulse of Sorare content a lot. And a few of the things that we have discussed a ways back was when I started doing solo shows like this one, and I really hated them. And I just wasn't comfortable talking to myself. And he made this point once that, throughout the week, I usually had other people on the show, whether it was Sean or Keith or Nep or Harry, or, I'd have kind of random people come on like Haber and Surfula, but it was always kind of someone with me. Oh, obviously Sorare Andrews. Apologies, Andy. Andy's already losing space in my head because he hasn't been around all week. And then the Friday shows, it was just kind of a solo, and he was like, "It actually feels like that's the show where it's you in the chat." And I think the live chat's really important in all the shows that we do, but particularly these solo ones where it's true. Maybe I'm the only one speaking out loud here, but the chat is so important for a variety of reasons, if not just because it kind of moves the conversation along. It's not even just, I am talking about something and I don't know what the answer is and somebody provides it, but it's actually you guys are the ones who kind of direct where this conversation goes. I may have a topic that I want to talk about, but ultimately it's how the people in the live chat respond to what I say about that topic that moves us in different directions, which is really my way of saying when I get off topic, it's not my fault. It's because you guys do that to me. Flo said, "It's not in Valu's interest to talk about Sorare. I heard he refused a partnership in the last 2 years." I mean, he might have. I don't know how Sorare deal with content creators normally. I don't really have the same relationship with Sorare as a lot of other content creators do. Generally, I don't know how much communication they have with Sorare, with people from Sorare. I usually don't have much. Every so often I'll talk to some people, but it's certainly not anything regular. And they don't come to me offering any sort of partnerships. And so maybe it's because they know that I'm obviously going to talk about Sorare anyway. They don't I don't think Valuz is I don't think Valuz is a Sorare content creator. They're kind of like a football content creator, and getting them to talk about Sorare, is one of those things. It's kind of like when, Nep. I don't know what Nep's like situation is with Sorare, but I do know that like Nep had a gigantic audience from his FIFA stuff, and I assume Sorare went to him and was like, "Oh, we'd like to use you to sell Sorare to your audience." And so I don't have that kind of relationship because like you guys already play Sorare. That's the audience for SorareData content. And so um, that's why I'm just not sure like how that works. Crypty, there are quite a few teams in Colombia. Yeah, no licensed teams. Yeah. CM Star said, Laird, read this to confirm I'm not a paid shill in the chat. I mean, I would Laird's people have the wire to you within the hour. I would love to pay people to watch this show. Major MT said, your show kept me sane while I kept losing because it's been weeks since a nice juicy win. Frankly, I haven't had a juicy win in a while. And yeah, it gets frustrating, I guess, disappointing. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Surface said, it seems the solo shows are actually really difficult to do well, and it's been awesome to see you hone your skills to deliver something good. I think very few people could do it as well as you. I really appreciate that, Sam. Like that means a lot. I disagree that I think very few people could do it as well. I think there are plenty of people who could. They just haven't tried, or they have tried, and I think one of the biggest difficulties with content is continuing to go even when nobody's listening or watching. And so it's really just like I am a full-time employee of SorareData, so maybe the drive to continue doing stuff was motivated by the fact that it's my job, but I don't want to say the ease of content, but the ease of anything, like anything gets easier once you do it after, enough. And so I do think that a lot of my growth as a content creator just comes from doing it. And so, and again, like this show does not exist without people watching. And I realize that's really difficult for people to hear when they're just starting out, because not a lot of people end up watching when you're brand new. And so being able to kind of like fight through that early period of what's the word I'm looking for? Struggles aren't the word I was looking for, but like, getting through that I think is really important. And so it's hard, except learning French. Yeah. Well, yeah. I decided to hone my skills of streaming before I learned French. So now I'm like okay at one, and the other is just non-existent. I got that actually reminded me of a comment that I got, not about learning French. There was a comment from yesterday's show. Someone remind me about that later, because I don't want to talk about it quite yet, but there was a comment about it. All about MLS thresholds. It had nothing to do with what I was just saying. I don't know why that reminded me of anything. I don't know. Anyway, so do we want to talk about MLS thresholds, or do we want to talk about what Sorare should give us? Because they're actually very different conversations. And I'd love to say one leads to the other, but they really don't. I don't know. Let me do the MLS thing first, because I don't necessarily want to forget about it, because I do think it's important. Blue Tomatoes. And Mike are arguing now. Not arguing, but excuse me, they're disagreeing. Start one and we will sidetrack to the other in 10 minutes. There we go, ZM Star. Love that. Okay, good idea. Okay, so so MLS threshold. Talked about thresholds yesterday, and the general idea around threshold now is like, at least with the MLS one, if it works, I think it becomes a pretty easy blueprint to replicate in other competitions. And for those of you who are unaware of what's happening, the MLS only competition starting up this season has a beat the game element to it, where all of the MLS in season competitions require 4 in season cards. However, if you play 5 in season cards, you are eligible for a beat the game mode, which we don't know how much the in season competitions are going to pay regularly. And we don't know what the threshold or what the beat the game element, how much the element will be. But I think what we are going to see is similar to what we've seen the last week or so, where there's a single pot of money and everyone who reaches a certain point threshold even gets an even distribution of that prize pool, which I think is probably the most sustainable way for the threshold to work or beat the game. And I think it's good. And so there was a comment from Andre in like the comments of the video yesterday that is quite long, but I'm going to read it because I think it is an appropriate kind of representation of how a lot of people are thinking. So, like I said, it's long, but I'm going to read it. Do we need the comment on the screen? And then I read it from what's on the screen, or do I just read it to you? This is one of those like content things that I don't know how, like if it works well. Like this is the comment. Should I just read it? Like everybody, and you're probably looking at it like, do I read it? I don't know. Here it is, and I'll read it. What I don't like about the threshold in MLS is the new 5 for 5 in-season card requirement. Classic cards are already in a bad spot. And now, by attaching the threshold rewards to having a full 5 in-season lineup, it makes using even one classic card in those lineups feel pointless. Sure, you can play 4 or 5 and skip the threshold, but who wants to spend on 4 in-season cards only to miss out on the 30% reward boost, for example, because you didn't buy the 5th? This new system essentially forces 5 in-season lineups, 5 of 5 in-season lineups to stay competitive, which is exactly what Sorare wants, to sell more cards. This change makes classic cards even more useless. What's frustrating is how they've tied this to the community favorite threshold rewards to push the 5 for 5 of 5 agenda. It feels like Sorare is trying to sneak these changes in and sell them as improvements, but in reality, they're just reshaping the meta to make 5 of 5 in-season lineups a no-brainer for cost efficiency. At the start of the season, when classic card owners were upset, many of you talked about how important it was to have the option to use one classic card in in-season lineups and how Sorare would anger the community if they required 5 of 5. But now Sorare says threshold, and suddenly everybody's hyped. Excuse me, everyone's hyped, ignoring how this essentially enforces the 5 of 5 rule requirement. It feels like Sorare thinks the community is too short-sighted to see the long-term impact of these changes. The frustration will boil over once people fully realized what's happened. Could you please talk about my worries in the next show? Maybe I'm wrong with this, but I would like to hear other opinions. So what's funny is I was reading that and I thought, maybe I'll talk about it on the next show. And then literally at the end, could you please talk about my worries? So I think it's I think it's unfair to think that people, well, I think for the most part, and a classic is probably detrimental for finishing as high as you can in the leaderboard. And I'm thinking of this like I have a Lionel Messi classic card that I plan to use in season competitions if I play it, because it's probably the best MLS card that I have, arguably the best MLS card. And buying a new one is quite expensive. And I think one of the tricky things that we as a user base will have to figure out while we're playing, and I don't think this is something that you can figure out ahead of time, is Did you actually win more by finishing lower on the leaderboard, but also reaching the threshold? No, that wouldn't work. Oh, yeah. Excuse me. So let's say you finish highly on the leaderboard with 4 in-season cards and 1 classic, and you win $100. And then if you had just bought the in-season version of that card, you win $80. But the threshold distribution is 30. And now you're winning 110, even though you scored fewer points. Does that work? And it's kind of an interesting one. And everybody's probably sitting there like, wait, why would your in-season lineup score fewer points? And my thought is just at some point, the XP, and maybe this is only early on, at some point, the XP will be higher for the in-season cards. Like I think that what this is kind of what this is in a hint of is just what it is, that Sorare will continue to require at least 4 and allow you to win more if you use 5. And that doesn't mean that you can't use a classic card, but it means they're obviously not as helpful because it kind of limits your reward upside. And I'm sure everyone will sit there and be like, well, they're doing the same thing. They're still making like classic cards not as good. But like I have a number of 15% classic cards that I can use in season competitions. And as long as like I can use them, like the answer is going to be like, can you win more with an 11% card plus the threshold versus the 15% classic without the threshold? And we got to do the maths first, and we don't have the numbers anyway. So, Major NFC said they were always going to go 5 for 5. I actually don't think that's true. I think what they're doing is what they'll do. It's like you can play a classic, but you will win more if you don't. Ryan Walter, users still have an option to play 4 or 5. Sorare has offered an additional reward. It changes the value prop, adds skill, and adds opportunity. We can't have our cake and eat it. Yeah. So Ryan, I think the pushback is just going to be they shouldn't do an additional reward. They should just reward that anyway. Like I see what you're saying, but I think that's the easy response. A couple of people talking about how they should progress it in, and I don't think it's that bad. Like, is what it is. Jorge, what's up from Portugal? Appreciate that. Save the Rhino said, we need Sorare to sell cards or there will be no Sorare. Unless they gain massive growth in user numbers, they need current users to buy in-season cards each year. I still don't think this whole like needing managers to buy new cards every year is a bad thing. Like that's literally always been the case. Like very, very few people are able to never buy cards, like new cards, regardless of how you play. Graham said people want Sorare to be a sustainable company but then complain when they try to sell cards to make it sustainable. They are literally in a no-win situation with some people. I agree with that. Major NT said, I want them to sell new cards, but it's unfair the first week is requiring 5 because only people with big wallets have a shot. I mean, that's the point of early access, though. Like, they're going to flood the market. So maybe you don't get the first ones, but it's like 2 or 3 weeks, hopefully. I think it was 2 weeks between when the Prem early access cards launch. I looked at that yesterday for somebody, and the Prem started. Actually, I think it was 17 days. Andre said, well, not paying cash prizes is also more sustainable. I don't like to always hear their argument every time Sorare makes changes. Not paying cash prizes is not sustainable, actually, because then nobody would play. Red Panda said, I think it all depends on how much of the total prize pool is allocated to the beat the game versus the podium prize pool. Exactly. It's not even the podium prize pool. It's like the whole cash prize pool. It's not just podiums for there. My man, Quinny, putting in the work this week with Harry Trades, man. Those two are just absolute beasts. You caught that one, Mike, huh? Yeah. Ace Pair said it does reduce the value of classic cards overall, but adds to the need to tweak classic. How much does it reduce it? Like, I think the thing that like I struggle with when people talk about that they're like, this makes my classic card worth less. And it's like, all right, what was it worth before? And what is it worth now because of this? And I don't know if we have like a number. And you're just like, well, it's less, and that's why it matters. And it's like, well, I don't know what to tell you. Like, we don't know. Sorare said, once Sorare monetize their podcast, they'll be as rich as Laird. That's the only alternative revenue stream they need. So I know like you're joking, Sorare, but like there's just no money in that. Victor said it's by no means additional. It takes a part of the normal in season as we know it. Yeah, I think it's just kind of the way you look at it. I kind of agree that it's not like additional. It's like that they know what the prize pool is. Like, we're going to give this much money, and then they decide like how much is going to the standings, and this is how much is going to the threshold. And I wonder if yeah, I don't know. Why do we think they put them in the same contest? Like, would you buy more cards if there were separate MLS in season versus MLS threshold contests? Like, I'm guessing that they don't do that because they're kind of worried that not enough people would play one or the other. Because obviously, if you have, well, actually, yeah, if they separated them, we obviously need more cards to play. And let's say they only did one threshold. Maybe they think now people are more willing to buy 3 lineups because of the threshold, as opposed to, like, I'm trying to think if they presented it as you can have 3 in-season lineups that require a classic card in this competition here. So let's say I know you'll need more than 15 cards, but let's say, just for the ease of the conversation, that you need 15 for that, including, which was really only 12 because you have the 3 classic cards. And then a separate competition that's just to beat the game every week, where you can have 3 lineups. So that's another 15 cards. Do we think that surely they discussed that internally? And I wonder if they thought just not enough people would buy cards just for the beat the game. And maybe they don't play 3 in season because, I don't know. I don't know. ZM Star said the bitter pill is the 5 of 5, but the sugar behind it is the threshold. They need us to play 5 for 5, but they are giving something back. Krupti said MLS cards will come out on the 12th and the league starts on the 23rd. Do we know that? I don't think we know that that's when the cards come out. Andre said, I just don't think the 4 of 5 was unsustainable, and it was a nice little incentive to buy 4 cards. I mean, we don't, unless you have like all of their budget items, like, we have no idea what the sustainability of 4 of 5 versus 5 of 5. But again, you can still play 4 of 5. Ryan said, why do you think we haven't gotten details for MLS yet? What info is Sorare trying to sort out? I don't know. I don't know how those things work. I can't even put like a guess on it of like maybe they do know and they're just waiting to launch J&K League first, and they don't want to kind of crowd us with information. That's kind of one of my pushbacks on people who complain that they have like a huge announcement, but they don't give us all the details. Like sometimes there's just too much information for people. And like this last one, they announced all the whatever that winter update was, and they were like, we'll provide some MLS details later. And everyone's like, oh, come on. And it's like they changed all of the prize pools. Like, would we want the MLS stuff? Sure. But like at some point, it's just too much for people to take in all at once. And so I don't think waiting is bad, but and it gives us something to look forward to. Sorare said, not thought this one through, but could you ever see a benefit in Sorare having classic comps that exclude in-season cards? So the only reason to do it is to like reduce the number of cards that are available to play, which theoretically make lineups like they make them less competitive. So it should be like easier to win, but I don't think it makes enough of a difference. So no, I don't think I don't see them doing it. Diogo said, how much are we expecting a Charlotte collection to be worth? How much to be worth, or how much you have to pay for it how much you have to pay for a collection? Those are very different questions. No one ever said at the start of the season, wow, 4 or 5 only seems unsustainable. I mean, you don't know something is unsustainable until it actually becomes unsustainable. Like when Sorare launched, no one ever said, wow, buying cards once and never having to buy them again and being able to win cash every single game week for the rest of my life, that seems unsustainable. Like it just doesn't happen. Jorge said, I just play classic cards, but I'm thinking about starting to play in season. Do you think it's already too late? It depends what you want to play. Like if you're going to go out and buy a Sporting or Porto or Benfica collection, because I think Jorge said he was in Portugal, maybe it's too late, but I actually don't think it is. Like I think kind of the beauty is that it's never too late. I mean, I guess that's not true. At some point, it's too late. I don't think it's now. But I do think you have to play the game much differently if you're starting now than if you started at the beginning of the season, because you're going to be behind on XP. Collection bonus you can always make up, but it's harder for sure. Simo, what's up? What if people could play a collection of a team against someone taking their own collection? Hold on. What if people could play collection of a team against someone taking their own team collection against them? And like winner gets both? I think that's gambling. Red Panda said, would card prices get driven down in that scenario? If the total prize pool remains fixed, but among 2 comps instead of 1, then each card would be valued as less. But it's not like... I don't know. Because it's not really... If the prize pool remains fixed among 2 comps instead of 1, then each card would be valued as less. But if it's the same prize pool, what does it matter? But I guess the argument is you need more cards per... Yeah, because then you would need essentially 6 lineups worth of cards to win the same amount of money. Okay, that makes sense. You're right. All right. See, this is why the live chat is so important. You win less per card, so it comes down. Okay, thank you guys. Sorry, I should have just caught up on the chat. The fact there was only 2 total in-season lineups per scarcity for Europa League was awful. The fact there were only 2 total in-season lineups. Why was it awful? ZM Star said the old threshold taught them that the community knows how to optimize to beat them and take their money with the smallest investment possible. Like the old threshold, like it's exactly what it is. And not to say that there isn't always going to be a part of the game of, and frankly, it should be that. What's the cheapest way I can win as much money as possible? But I think there was a time where Sorare needed people to buy these cards. And so they had this threshold. And at some point, yeah, the community got smarter than them. or at least smarter than that rule. And they had to figure out, um, they had to figure that out. Krupti said the 2024 MLS card in-season utility expires on the 11th. It shows that on the card in game so that they come out that day or a day later. I still don't think that's correct. And like I don't think they're related at all, but I could be wrong. Let's say the threshold is a big part of total rewards and it feels way better to buy an in-season Messi instead of using your classic Messi. Isn't that a bit shit? I always love the idea of using one classic card. Yeah, I think that's why they have to balance how much the threshold is, for sure. Like Andy's not expecting the threshold to be that much money at all. And so like if it's like they basically need the threshold amount to be high enough that you buy the extra card, but also not so high that it's like the only thing you go for, if that makes sense. Like they don't want people only playing for the threshold. It's basically like a bonus for finishing highly. Yogo said, I think both cost of collection and worth of it are really good questions, actually, but was asking cost. Yeah. So, like, I think you should buy. This is like one of the dangerous was the word that was going to come out of my mouth, but well, I'll use it. This is one of the dangerous truths now about Sorare, that you need to think about how much it costs to buy something with the expectation that it's actually worth zero. And I realize that's like really hard to comprehend because, like, why would I buy something that's worth nothing? And I think the biggest reason for that is, and I don't think that the cards are worth nothing. Like, I think they have value. People are going to pay for them. But the way that Sorare works now is we buy cards to yield from them. And so what you need to consider is how much am I willing to spend in order to win a certain amount of money? And obviously we want to win more than we spend. And you should almost start this exercise of how much am I willing to spend on the cards that I want if I didn't know what other people paid. And I think that's kind of a really, like, that's something that I've tried to do recently, and it's because we have the information, it's almost impossible to know. There was a card that I have been looking to acquire. I don't want to say what it is because I'm paranoid. And the price keeps going up because there was an auction and then an instant buy and then an auction and then instant buy, and it keeps going up. And I haven't figured out yet if the new instant buy is still a good price. Like, can that card help me yield enough to pay it back at this new price? And if I was confident that literally the card has doubled in price, and it was like, I thought about buying it at what is half price. And I was thinking of it, I was like, that's a pretty good price. I should buy that. And I didn't. And now that it's double, and I'm like, I can't yield enough to get that card now. But if I do think I can, I'm like so clouded by what it was priced 5 days ago. But if I didn't know what it was priced 5 days ago, would I buy the card? And I think we focus so much on what these cards are, like, quote unquote, worth, that, like, when we buy them, what we're not doing is probably the most important step, which is how much can I win from this card? And if it's way more than what the cost is, and like, that's great. But like, don't think of it as like, I'm going to buy this collection and I'll try to win stuff from it, and it's going to be worth whatever in the future. Like, if you're looking to buy a collection, it's like, well, how much do you think you can win? with that collection? And if the answer is like way below what you're paying for it, then maybe you're just a collector. Save the Rhino said, I'm worried for prices of top players if you can't play one in Classic, Rodri being the example. You can buy a star and lose them for the season. Upside was to keep as Classic for next season. I think what we're seeing is what we like. I think the MLS is going to be the blueprint. And Andre said it'll kill the secondary market if no one uses Classic cards in season. Yeah. That's why I think that they'll continue to do it. Major MT said, I meant imagine you could play your one team collection against the collection of the opposing team for another collection of another member for the opposing team playing in real life. Wow. Sorry. I meant imagine you could play your team collection against the collection of the opposing team from another collection of another member for the opposing team playing in real life. So like if I had what are the matchups this weekend? For that, whatever that super contest is, like Arsenal collection versus Man City collection, and they're playing in real life. Mike said there had to have been a point when Sorare's data showed that they were effectively buying their own cards via the threshold payments paid out. Mike, that's data that like everyone could have known. Ben said, I think the threshold will be a pool of money that is split between the winners. It helps maintain a fixed threshold cost for Sorare. Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is. But I don't think it's just going to be the winners. Like it's going to be, I think we're going to have a variable number of winners for a fixed prize pool. Rhino said the in-season prices of European leagues have stayed relatively consistent. Are we expecting a big drop-off soon if the MLS module will become the new norm? I don't know. Diogo said, I think pricing on cards you should set before. And if it's above that price, you should stay away. But to know that, we need to know rewards for MLS. Yeah. Cosmic said, hi, so we're going to do a meme coin drop on Solana. We already have ours. What is that up to now? Hold on. Need to do a quick check on my Pavel coin. What do we think it's worth today? Come on. Oh boy. Not looking great. I'll retire later. Major entity for English not being your first language, it's actually quite good. So well done. Rhino said, I often buy a card for a weekend filler and only price it as the difference between what I pay and can sell to a bot after the weekend. Ooh, that's a previous Gator guy special. Which is something just I really struggle to do. Ben said, I must have missed it, but why do you own Pavel coin? What do you mean why? Full transparency, he gifted me some. I haven't bought any others. Server said, can you speak at all about the back end of Sorare having to deal with essentially 3 game week deadlines in 4 days, each with its own contests and rolling locks? Was it chaotic? It was not chaotic at all. And I say that as somebody who really has no business around any of the tech stuff that happens. But basically, one of the things that we've done with SorareData over the years is tried to automate as much as we can that's fed from Sorare. And so like there was a time where if Sorare had like a special competition, somebody would have to like manually input the rules, and we would do it very quickly, and it just didn't happen that often, and so it was no big deal. And then when it became clear that they were going to kind of have these specials with different rules all the time, uh, we had to take it was a fairly big undertaking to ensure that the lineup builder was kind of always ready for that. And the problem is that there are some things that it was built in a way that it can't handle it. And so Graham said, will the attacker special be added to the lineup builder, or is it not worth the effort? I think the problem is that for stuff like that, it's not worth the effort. Like the everything was very set in the you have a goalkeeper, defender, midfielder, forward, extra, and you probably will be able to set the attacker special lineup. Actually, I don't know if you will. No, I don't know. So yeah, that stuff's is gonna be hard. But it's so actually like these deadline like the deadlines this week were mostly fine. I think the difficulty is that we're kind of at the subject of even Sorare's own rules, that like when the L15s adjust and stuff like that. And so there are people who set lineups for like the specialist stuff on Thursday ahead of time. And then when the game week closed on Wednesday, the L15s changed. And but that like there's nothing we can do about that. Like we're kind of take that from Sorare. And so it's actually a really good question to kind of move on to today's topic now that we're 53 minutes in. Um, hmm. Sora Cumry said, I disagreed with your view on late swap until I had to pick my teams in a 30-minute window. I hated it. And Ben said it was horrible. I think the one of the things that made it really difficult, and this is a very easy thing to fix, which I appreciate, is coming from someone who has absolutely no technical background or skills. But once we know lineups, like if you're going to run a competition where we know the lineups, you need to show on your lineup builder that a player is starting. There's no reason to show projected lineups when we know what the lineups are. Like if you play daily fantasy football on DraftKings, when the starting lineups are announced, it'll show a player's name and literally a green check mark. Actually, I think it's technically a white check mark with a green circle around it. But Ben said, I had no idea why Sorare didn't have starters showing. We have it on Rivals. Yeah, I think it's like, I agree that they missed on that one, because you have to have it. Like if you projected lineups are nice when you're doing lineups ahead of time, but they really don't help if you know the lineup. It doesn't matter. So, I'm sure they got that feedback, and if not, here it is, and they can adjust for the next time. Because I do think that what they did was kind of a preview. I genuinely think that if they have the opportunity to kind of like eliminate DNPs sometimes, then you should do it. And so I think it was kind of a rush, obviously, but there were no DNPs. Now, granted, the situation that we had this week, I don't like that doesn't happen regularly. And so I don't know really how to fix that. And I don't think what they did leads to that kind of setting for the regular schedule, but I don't know. We'll see. Ben said, I can't imagine the guys setting lineups on multiple scarcity days. I could feel my blood pressure rising from doing my 3 lineups. Yeah. So like I think most people don't do their lineups an hour before the deadline. Like when they know lineups, maybe people will do that once they, if they implement something like this. I really have no idea if they will, but that leads to things like in the lineup builder where it's like only show me players who are starting. And we kind of have that in the SorareData lineup builder in terms of projected lineups. Like you can say only show, well, you don't even need to. the pick score will show you like if a player is expected to start or not. But if we have the lineups, like you have to be able to um, you know, show the players who are starting. Major NFT said, I did 45 lineups in 30 minutes with SorareData this morning. So that's one of the things I want to talk about today. Now that we just did a 56-minute intro of what Sorare should give us. And the foundation of the discussion was about basically their new lineup builder. And somebody commented in the live chat yesterday that basically like SorareData's lineup builder is going to basically make me get a new job. And I actually used it this morning for my training lineups because I wanted to try it and compare it to the SorareData lineup builder. I didn't always do my training lineups on SorareData, but over the last few weeks I have. And I kind of like I know which cards are at level 20 and which ones I don't want to like put into training. And so the um so doing training in the SorareData lineup builder is fine for me. I realize that that's not the case for everybody, but that's why I do it. But today, this is the first game week that is like first normal game week where they've had their new lineup builder. And so I was like, oh, let me try it out. So I will say that it looks very similar to SorareData, which is like, it's not a joke, but it almost like helps you because there's some familiarity with it if you are somebody who uses SorareData. I haven't even looked what the midweek stuff is. Let's see if I have any teams. So we have just All-Star this week. So, oh, look at that, Petroli, love it. Oh, we got Liga MX. Okay. So basically what is this? So apparently Franco Petroli is taking set pieces at some point, which is, I wonder if they consider, oh man, that's funny. I feel like that would apply to all the goalies. I was going to say maybe there was like a foul just outside of the box and everybody moves up and he takes the free kick, even though it's like in there. Major NFT said it doesn't show in tablets. Big fail. Not MX is champion. Oh, CCC. That's right. That's right. Oh, okay. Tigres against, is that Estudiantes? Oh, wow. Okay. But this is Argentina. They're not in anything. I'm guessing the rewards are just nothing this week, right? All-Star 25th in limited. 10 people are good. Wait, we're not serious, are we? There are 10 rewards. Because let's see how many licensed teams we have. Tigres is 1. Dundee Celtic is 3. I guess that's why we have 3 licensed teams. Ryan said there's 6 covered teams. Are there even 6? And yeah, and Celtic are playing. They have a Pumas logo, but Burnley. Ryan said I was estimating, but I think I'm wrong. No, you're right. There are 25 limited rewards. What's super rare? Just a punch in the face? 3. Tier 3, Tier 4, Tier 5. Anyway, let's make some lineups. So we're Kiwi. First time catching the stream live. Even got up early to make it over here. Started about 6 months ago, and as a new player, they have been extremely helpful. Jason, thanks for coming in. And I believe, did you watch the Deadline show today? I feel like Sorare Kiwi is a name I've heard recently for that. But anyway, so basically what I use the lineup builder for is letting me know how good of a matchup my players have. And obviously with SorareData, we have the suggest a lineup feature, so you can just like get a lineup in one click. Guzman, Aquino, Gorriaran, Kuhn, and Brunetta. That's a nice lineup. Oh wait, is there? And there's no in season or. Oh, it's great that I have 3 Nahuel Guzmans for no in season. Anyway, so does my player have a good matchup? Like, who are they playing, and is it a good matchup? And I generally don't use L5 and L15 at all. I do use pick scores though to just like help me organize to know who's better. And I like that we can see all of this. And this is stuff that I would want to see. Are they projected to play? Is their matchup any good, which is based off of like the opponent's scores, their scoring history, which I use this show last 15. And one of my favorite things about this is that you can click on them and you can see like exactly what they got. And just looking at the Sorare one, like these 2 columns are not helpful for me. The form is nice. So basically that gives me the L15 scores. But I'm just used to seeing them all the time anyway. And I guess we know home and away. Oh yeah, they do it that way. Oh, that's nice. So I basically, there's an advanced view. Oh, what does this look like? All right, we're getting there. Minutes played. That's how many minutes they've played in the last, what is it, 15, I said? They said? Last 15. All right, we can do per 90. I hate per 90 stats for decisives. That makes no sense to me. And lowest price. I don't know what that means. Well, let's get out of that. All right, so that AA, which is basically here, we have that in the form. AA, floor and ceiling over the time. How about that? 1.3. Anyway, Flo said there will be a few teams rotating in CONCACAF. Good luck to all. I mean, some of them haven't even played yet. Anyway, so what I haven't done is try to build 22 lineups in the lineup builder. I don't know what I had this past game week. 26 plus 5 training lineups. And so maybe it works. And my only difficulty is that I really like, I don't know the ins and outs of every team in world football. And so just like these win odds help me immensely in some cases. Usually in contender when it's like, oh, my player now plays in just realized I didn't do contender classic. I don't think I had cards left anyway. Maybe I did. Oh well. Like Croatia, like I wouldn't, the 5th versus 1st, like I don't know how big of a difference that is. And so it's just like, it is what it is. I don't know if that's something Sorare wants to put on their website, like sportsbook odds, as they keep saying that they're not gambling. But sort of the topic of today is like, how much should Sorare be giving us in terms of doing in terms of like playing Sorare? And one of the things that I struggle with in using Sorare that I almost like don't use it was and I talked about it on a stream recently that I got an offer for my Kaler Navas rare card. And when I clicked on it, it showed like no recent sales. And then I went on SorareData and there were like 30 cards that had traded in the last month. And it's like stuff like that feels like maybe should be on Sorare. Should Sorare give us that information? But it's just a lot of like, I think like the third partiness of a platform like SorareData is important because there are just some things that Sorare can't give us or shouldn't give us. And so it's just a matter of like, what should Sorare be giving us? And like a useful lineup builder is probably something that people should expect from the site that they're playing the game on, right? And obviously they're making like tremendous progress on it, which is like I realize I work for SorareData and we have like a competing product, which I will die on the hill of that is better than what they have. But they obviously have been inspired lately to improve it, which is great. Which is great. So then it's like, well, what else should we be expecting from them? And one of them is like they open that scouting center, and the scouting center is kind of an interesting one for me because it's one of those things that people who want to dive into the stats um, will love, and usually those people are quite loud, but they also don't represent a majority. And so I wonder how many people generally dive into stats. Like I'm someone who likes to look at that stuff, but I also know that most people don't. And so you need a way, like the reason why people you like pick scores is because it organizes all of that information for you. And whether you like agree with the pick score or not, it at least gives you a good comparison of two different players or eight different players. And what I think is a a struggle for Sorare is that that's something that I think users want to see. I have four goalies. Which one is the best? Do you want the site you're playing on to tell you yours is the best or which of the four is the best? And do you want that site to say, actually, the four cards that you bought are bad? Here's one you should buy. And it it kind of like brings that question of like how much should Sorare be giving us? And how much should Sorare not rely on third parties, but allow third party sites to help users? Because, and I mentioned this on a stream the other day, like there are plenty of FPL sites that can help you get better at Fantasy Premier League, right? Like Fantasy Football Scout, and I again forgot the name of the other one that I know is like popular with a few people. But the ultimately there has to be a place for people who want more to be able to get more. And you shouldn't expect the site that you're playing on to provide all of that information. Like a lot of like daily fantasy sites, like they have like player stats within their company, but like they're not telling you who to play. And or at least telling you like why one player is better to play than the other. And Sorare are kind of in this weird position because if they are going to be the ones that tell us, yes, this player is better than the other, as trustworthy as you think they are, when you're presented with like, hey, yes, this one is better than this one, but also like this one that we're selling might be better. And how much do they like push you to do that? And I'm not saying like they're pushing people to like buy cards that aren't good, but like you have to remember that like their business, as we bring up all the time, is selling cards. And so how much of their job should be spent like making sure that we are building the best lineups we can. Zamstar said, people that have SorareData see the value of not the lineup builder, but of everything you offer that is not based on lineups. So it's funny you bring that up because I feel like that's one of the most like overlooked things about SorareData. And this is like me being on a soapbox or a high horse or whatever the right metaphor or analogy is, whatever it is. But like the number of times that I see um, like a Twitter thread of like, oh, here are the best under 23 players that are named Andrew. And it's like a long list, and they all include like screenshots from SorareData and with all the stats, and or if it's like the tile from Watchlist. I'm trying to pull one up here. No, hold on. Sorry. It's just this one. So I have this. This is really funny. My main watch list now has two players on it: Claudio Echeverri and Artur Guler. But I'm trying to think of who it was. Oh, let me see if I can find it. Hold on. There was a Twitter thread by, I think it was QTN. Sorry, they had like a huge Twitter thread. Here we go. Yeah. So it's in French, so I have to translate everything. So let's do that. But it was like, let's see, 14 players who have the best chance of performing on Sorare. And like Mike Penders is the first one, talks about how good he's been, blah, blah, blah. And then like this graphic right here, it shows you the limited prices, rare prices, L5, L15, next matchup. This is all from SorareData. And you'd never know it. And there's just like little things like this, all like that's how we scout. And that's how you find players like that. And so it's just weird to like it's little things like that like SorareData has become such a part of how we play Sorare. And it's not very, I don't want to say very little of it is the lineup building, but it's actually it's actually not. It's kind of like how you spend your time looking for cards. And obviously you can like search the market on Sorare for cards, but you don't necessarily have all of the things, the features of our tools that are as easy on Sorare. And so you just end up getting used to playing SorareData. I mean, you get used to using it. Ben said, playing devil's advocate here, is that not what SorareData does when you click the lineup strength indicator? Are you talking about like who to, yeah, so yes. So Ben, that's not devil's advocate at all. I'm glad you brought that up. So Ben is talking about this. I'll do it for a previous game week. So if you click on the lineup builder, this upgrade available, we can tell you like who like kind of projects better for this game week. The big difference has been like we don't sell these cards. I don't know if we have like an affiliate thing on this. Let's see. What's the link? Maybe we do. I don't know. I'll tell you this: we're not making enough money through these to do anything. But it's different. Like I feel like it's different if it's actually the website itself that you're buying the cards from, telling you that there's an upgrade. That's all. That's all. Did QTN credit SD for that data at all? I don't know. I maybe I didn't read through all of it. Maybe. I'm not saying they didn't, and I'm not saying they are like stealing from SorareData. That's not the point at all. The point was more like that type of tool of here are players I found, and you can make like a watch list with those players, and you can see all together like how they score and what their prices are. And a lot of people use SorareData in that way that like you cannot do that on Sorare, and maybe you shouldn't have to be able to do that on Sorare. And so there's like a value in a third-party site being able to provide that. I'll always find more value in SorareData. Yeah. But I think what we have to do pretty much as a company as well, and what users have to do is think more of what should the site I play on, what should I expect the site to play on to provide me in terms of being able to play the game. And at some point there are things that you probably don't want the site you're playing on to give you, because not that they're impartial and not that they're trying to screw you, but the use of additional tools are the use of additional tools is necessary for almost anybody who's playing any game seriously. And like that's okay. Like third-party platform, the success of third-party platforms, or at least the prevalence of third-party platforms, is only a positive indication of the success of the primary platform. ZM said, on the next Sorare in the States, I will make sure to thank you and SD for everything, since we, of course, use it during the course of the show. I'm also guilty of not giving you credit to you guys. It has nothing to do with that. Like, I'm not looking for that. Like, I apologize that it came off that way. Because like we know that SorareData is an important part of content, of Sorare content. And so it's more about yeah, like I think for most people when you go on the site, like people know you're using SorareData. I'm not like saying, please, make sure you credit us and all this stuff. It's actually more that I think it's important to like at least acknowledge that a site like SorareData is important, and other third-party sites, whether it's like the lineup projection sites. There was the what was that accounting one back in the day? I don't remember. Sorry. What was it called? I don't know. Whatever. But the way that so it's for a long time on SorareData, people like the point of SorareData at some point became we should do this tool even though we think Sorare should do it, but we know it's important because we play the game and like this is what we want. And instead of waiting for Sorare to move it up the priority list, we built it. And so the lineup builder is one, like our lineup builder has come a long way over the years, and the kind of value of using it, I think is kind of greater at this point. And now there are things in there that like maybe shouldn't be on Sorare, but Sorare should have an extensive lineup builder on their website. Like there was never a point in any SorareData discussion that we were like, boy, I hope Sorare never has a good lineup builder. Like they need to have one. Like it's and they are doing it. Like kudos to them. Like they are doing it. But I think ultimately there's always going to be a need for additional tools to make sure that you're great at the game. Like very, 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 very few people are really good at any fantasy game and only go to that fantasy game website to play. Like ultimately they have like their own spreadsheets, their own projections. Like they have something. And we just need to make sure that we're on that. And that Sorare is kind of aware of it. Yeah. So that's all. Like, thankfully, we had that MLS discussion because I didn't have like an hour worth of that discussion. But I do think we need to be kind of more like there's certainly more that Sorare can give us, but we have to kind of understand like what is appropriate to be given from them as opposed to having some sort of third party site do it. And I don't know, like the like SorareData is not the only website that exists to help you make your lineups, and I think there should always be a market for that. And I don't think we should be the only ones to do it. Like in a perfect world, Sorare is so popular that like other people are making lineup builders, and it kind of encourages everybody to get better, but also again is kind of that that example that the primary platform is doing well because there are other people who say, oh wait, I think there is a business here of helping other people get better. Rui said, hello, when is there going to be an update on the lineup builder on SorareData? Like our new one? It should be very soon. Very soon. The new look SorareData is soon. Soon. Yeah. All right. That's all I had today. I don't think there's anything else. So yeah. So thank you to everybody for coming, particularly everybody in the live chat. But like, if you can't make it to the live chat, you're watching this after, there's no hard feelings. I get it. But yeah, kudos, or at least shout out to everybody in the live chat for letting this show happen. If you could please like the video. Mikey Vaston here said 63 likes for 82 watching. Yeah, I mean, that's not bad, but like we can do better. We can do better. So yeah, thanks everyone for coming. Please like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Shout out to Quinny. Speaking of Quinny, I believe Go Fuck Friday will be back in about an hour and 10 minutes. I think that's when they do it. And yeah. ZM Star said my Sorare mood has been too high. Oh, is Sean coming back? Maybe. If there's something that you want Sean to talk about, I'm sure we could do that. But like, I don't want to just bring him on and just be like, so what's up? And just kind of like leave him high and dry. In fact, I know exactly what Sean will talk about. That's why I'm not having him, about how great late swap is. And like, I just can't. He's going to have the whole conversation like, this is why it's so great. And then he's going to admit that he's the only person on the entire platform that it's like perfect for. But he's like, but that's why it's perfect. So yeah, there it is. That was the show with Sean. Anyway, thank you to everybody. Bringing back once the MLS rewards out. We'll do that. There's going to be a MLS show. There might be a lot of people on that show, but we're going to blow it out for MLS as soon as we have some sort of update on it. So yeah, thanks everyone for coming. Good luck with all your lineups this weekend. Go enjoy all the content that you can, and remember to go outside.